The grand chamber of the Galactic Council was silent. 1,000 voices from 1,000 worlds had gathered here, yet the silence was heavy, suffocating. Only the crystalline hum of the translation engines broke the stillness as species of every shape and size waited for the session to begin. At the center, a high arbiter rose, her translucent form refracting light into a halo of shifting colors. Her voice carried both authority and dread. Once more, we convene to discuss the anomaly. Once more, we ask, why does Earth remain unconquered? A murmur rippled through the chamber. Everyone knew the truth: fleets had gone, fleets had vanished, and none returned. But no one wanted to say it aloud. To admit fear of a primitive world was to admit weakness. The first delegate, Admiral Ger of the Zorath Armada, broke the silence. His carapace gleamed under the chamber's glow. We sent 40 warships. Battle-tested leviathans, veterans of 50 campaigns. We expected submission within hours. Yet, his mandibles clicked in agitation. Our fleet entered orbit and then ceased all transmissions. No wreckage, no distress signals. Nothing. It was as if the void swallowed them whole. The council stirred uneasily. To lose ships was common. To lose all traces of them, that was impossible. Next, a representative of the Telenari Mindweavers floated forward, their psychic aura rippling like liquid silver. Our warriors touched the human minds, they said softly. And recoiled. We sensed chaos. Noise. A storm of thoughts layered upon thoughts. Human minds are not ordered like ours. They are unpredictable. When our champions tried to impose control, their consciousness fractured. They screamed until they dissolved. Whispers surged like waves through the chamber. The Telenari were feared across the galaxy, their psychic dominance had crushed empires. For them to fail was unheard of. Probe, the machine delegate of the automaton clans, spoke next. His voice was a cold, metallic tone. We deployed adaptive AI swarms, programmed to consume planetary defenses. Within 6 planetary cycles, our machines should have replicated endlessly. Instead, our cores corrupted. Data loops appeared, nonsense patterns, humor, art, chaos. Machines turned against themselves. Some began to create. We do not know why. Earth broke them. The chamber erupted into arguments. This is sorcery. No world can resist the Mindweavers. Machines do not simply laugh. The High Arbiter slammed her staff, sending a pulse of silence. Enough. One by one, fleets vanish. One by one, armies crumble. Not through strength, but through something we cannot define. Her light dimmed to a somber hue. If Earth cannot be conquered by blade, mind, or machine, then what are we facing? No one answered. No one dared. At last, Commander Vex of the Dralith rose. His scaled form towered, eyes glinting with cold calculation. There is only one explanation. We fight not a planet, but a trap. A world that consumes its attackers not by force, but by turning them against themselves. And if that is true, then we must uncover the truth or risk feeding more armies into the void. The council chamber fell silent again, but this time the silence was not ignorance. It was fear. The council chambers emptied slowly, species dispersing with uneasy whispers. Yet in the shadows of the hall, one figure lingered, Commander Vex of the Dralith. His scales caught the faint glow of starlight as he studied the galaxy hologram hovering before him. Earth spun at its center, small, blue, and utterly ordinary to the eye. And yet it had swallowed fleets whole. When the High Arbiter summoned him, he already knew the command. "You will lead the investigation," she declared. "No fleets. No armies. Only observation. We need answers, not more ghosts. Vex bowed, though his eyes never left the spinning earth. Then I will assemble those who can see without being seen. Within a rotation, his team was chosen. Swift, a slender avian scout, whose wings shimmered with iridescence even in folded form. She could outfly most sensors, move through the void without a sound, and read movement patterns like a predator hawk. Probe, a fragment mind of the automaton clans, stripped of its corrupted memories but hungry for data. Its many lenses shifted and clicked as it reinstalled protocols for stealth analysis. And finally, Vex himself, strategist, survivor of a dozen campaigns, his instincts honed by victories and failures alike. They boarded a cloaked vessel, small and silent, designed not for war but for watching. As the ship slid from Council space into the dark lanes of hyperslip, Swift broke the silence. "Why us? Why not another fleet?" she asked, her voice a soft trill. "Because fleets have failed," Vex replied coldly. "Steel cannot pierce what it does not understand. We must learn first. Only then may steel have meaning." Probe's lenses whirred. Or perhaps there is no meaning. Perhaps Earth is anomaly. "No," Vex said sharply. "No anomaly devours armies, mindlords, and machines alike. Something lives there. Something the humans themselves may not even understand." The journey to Sol was long, but uneventful. When the pale sun finally rose against the void, Earth appeared, fragile, wrapped in clouds, ocean shimmering like liquid crystal. To Swift's keen eyes, it looked harmless. "Is this it?" she whispered. "The planet that unmade the Zorath? It looks like prey." "Prey that feeds on hunters," Vex reminded her. Their vessel slipped into a high orbit, cloaked and masked. Probe deployed thin satellites disguised as drifting debris. Streams of data began to pour into their vessel, heat signatures, communication bursts, energy spikes. At first, it seemed ordinary. Cities sprawled with predictable patterns. Vehicles moved like insects across paved lines. Energy grids pulsed steadily. But then Swift narrowed her gaze. "Look closer. No unity. They divide themselves. Many flags. Many leaders." Probe confirmed. "They are not one empire. They are hundreds of factions, bound loosely. They argue. They compete. Yet, no faction has destroyed the others. Balance persists." Vex frowned. In galactic history, such division meant weakness. But here, the weakness had endured, evolved, thrived. "They are fractured, yet whole," Vex murmured. "A paradox." As hours turned into days, the team watched more closely. Humans gathered not just for survival, but for ritual. They clashed in arenas not to kill, but to test strength. They risked lives leaping from mountains with wings of cloth, racing machines at impossible speeds, diving into oceans with only fragile tubes of air. Probe's processors clicked in confusion. "I do not understand." "They pursue danger willingly. Pain and risk are entertainment?" Vex's tail lashed thoughtfully. "Perhaps that is why invasions fail. We fear death. They play with it." The thought unsettled even him. As Earth spun beneath them, a silence settled in the small cloaked vessel. For the first time in years, Commander Vex felt the prickling sensation of doubt creeping along his scales. Perhaps the Council had been wrong. Perhaps Earth was no trap. Perhaps it was something far worse. High voltage word count, 570. From orbit, Earth was beautiful. But beauty could be deceptive. Commander Vex knew better than to be swayed by oceans and clouds. True danger was hidden in behavior, not landscapes. And so, the observers shifted their focus from the planet itself to the creatures that walked upon it. Swift perched near the viewing pane, her keen eyes following the magnified feeds from Probe's satellites. "Look," she trilled, her feathers ruffling in disbelief. "They gather in vast numbers. Not to fight, not to build, but to watch." The feed showed a colossal stadium, filled with thousands of humans roaring as two groups chased a ball across a green field. Their voices shook the air in a thunderous wave, as if worshipping a primal spectacle. Probe tilted its lenses. "They simulate war. A ritualized conflict. Minimal casualties. Energy wasted, yet morale gained. Statistical anomaly." "Not war," Vex said slowly, studying the faces of the crowd. "But practice. They train themselves to feel the rhythm of conflict without the ruin of it. They prepare for struggle in the guise of play." Hours later, another scene emerged, a human strapped to a fragile wing of cloth, leaping from a mountain cliff. The avian scout almost shrieked in disbelief. "They fall willingly. Without wings, without safety. What madness is this?" The human soared, gliding with the fabric wings, laughing as the wind carried him down. His companions recorded the act, cheering as though he had defied death itself. Probe processed endlessly, but confusion only deepened. Risk without necessity. Danger embraced. They make fear pleasurable? Vex's claws tapped the console. They rehearse mortality. Perhaps this is why they endure what breaks others. The next observation unsettled them even more. A group of humans sat in a dimly lit room, staring at glowing screens. Their fingers tapped controls furiously as images of soldiers, monsters, and weapons flickered across the displays. They shouted, laughed, cursed, celebrated, all while waging wars that were not real. Simulated combat, Probe noted. A harmless extension of training. But they gain no territory, no resource, Swift argued. They gain something else, Vex said. His scales prickled as he watched. Adaptability. Strategy. The ability to fail, and fail, and fail again, yet return stronger every attempt. They sharpen their minds upon illusions, and carry those lessons into reality. But what shook the observers most was not violence. It was compassion. In a quiet street, they saw a human kneel beside a fallen stranger. Blood pooled on the pavement. Instead of fleeing, the human pressed hands to the wound, shouting for help. Within minutes, others rushed forward, some carrying kits, some with machines to carry the injured. All strangers, yet all united in urgency. Swift's feathers flattened in confusion. Why would they help one not of their kin? Waste energy on weakness? Probe's lenses flickered. Illogical. Efficiency dictates abandonment. No, Vex whispered, watching the scene unfold. It is not illogical. It is terrifying. For if they extend protection to every fragile piece of their kind, then their strength is multiplied beyond measure. They make each other impossible to call. Hours of observation became days. They saw humans argue endlessly yet still cooperate when true danger arose. They saw them build machines to cross oceans, to reach skies, even to leave their world behind. They saw children nurtured for decades before becoming self-sufficient, an investment of time no other species would dare make. To the aliens, it was madness. To humanity, it was survival perfected. At last, Swift folded her wings tightly. They are not prey. Not at all. Vex's voice was low, grim. No. They are predators who have learned to tame themselves. And that makes them the most dangerous of all. For several cycles, the observers had studied the humans' daily habits, their games, their risks, their compassion. But now, Probe turned its lenses toward something far more dangerous: their armies. Transmission intercepted, Probe reported. Open source. Accessible to any civilian. Observation: they do not hide their armies. They display them proudly. The feed lit up the viewing chamber. Lines of soldiers marched in flawless rhythm across a vast parade ground. Armored vehicles rolled in tight formation, aircraft roared overhead, and banners rippled in the wind. The humans cheered, not in fear, but in celebration. Swift's feathers trembled. They parade their weapons openly? They show their enemies their blades? Vex's eyes narrowed. No. They show themselves. This is ritual of unity. A declaration to all: we are ready. Probe shifted the display. Training footage appeared: humans crawling through mud, dragging wounded comrades, enduring fire and smoke. The observers noted the instructors screaming at them, pushing them beyond breaking points. Yet not one quit. Those who stumbled were pulled back to their feet by others. Correction, Probe murmured. They do not train individuals. They train units. Organisms of many bodies, one will. Swift tilted her head. But they are divided, by nations, by tribes. How can such unity exist? Because division does not weaken them, Vex replied grimly. It strengthens. They compete, they rival, they innovate. Each faction forges sharper steel, greater weapons, yet all remain human. Their wars against each other are rehearsal for wars against the stars. Historical records confirmed his fear. Probe accessed human archives, public ones freely available to all. Endless lists of wars scrolled across the screens: conquests, revolutions, civil conflicts, global catastrophes. Empires rising, collapsing, and giving birth to new ones. Analysis, Probe droned. Species should not survive such repeated self-destruction. Statistical probability of extinction, 94%. And yet here they stand, Vex muttered. His claws scraped the armrest. Every war hones them. Every fall teaches them. They treat devastation as evolution. The feed shifted again. This time, it was not parades or training. It was machines, massive carriers that dwarfed cities, aircraft that defied gravity, submarines that hid in oceans for months unseen. Humans displayed missiles that could shatter continents, weapons designed not to kill armies, but to erase entire civilizations in a flash of fire. Swift recoiled. They keep such power within reach of their own kind? Why have they not destroyed themselves? For once, Probe had no answer. Its lenses flickered, processors cycling in silence. Because, Vex said finally, they fear themselves more than we could ever fear them. Their restraint is the only leash holding back their extinction. And restraint is a choice. A terrifying one. The next discovery was worse still. Probe showed footage of past battles, small armies facing overwhelming odds, yet refusing surrender. Soldiers fought until ammunition was gone, then fought with knives, then with their bare hands. Even when defeat was certain, humans turned it into legend, ensuring the memory of resistance lived on. Swift whispered, "They do not fear death." No, Vex corrected her softly. They embrace it, if it buys their kin another moment. Their weakness becomes their strength. Kill one, and the others grow fiercer. Defeat a nation, and another rises sharper than before. They turn failure into fuel. At last, the chamber aboard the stealth vessel fell into silence. The blue world turned beneath them, peaceful and calm, hiding its armies, its history, its weapons. But Vex no longer saw a fragile planet. He saw a predator in waiting. He spoke, his voice low and grim. The council asked why Earth cannot be conquered. The answer is clear. Earth does not fight as one world. Earth fights as 1,000 worlds, united by struggle. And if the day ever comes when they do fight as one, the galaxy itself will tremble. The days of observation had turned into weeks. Vex, Swift, and Probe had seen enough to fill entire archives, yet none of it brought comfort. The more they learned, the less sense humanity made. Probe compiled the final reports, its metallic voice flat but uneasy. Summary: humans are adaptive, resilient, cooperative beyond kinship, and paradoxically destructive yet creative. Their civilizations recover from catastrophes faster than predictive models allow. They should be extinct. Instead, they thrive. Swift's feathers bristled. They are chaos incarnate. They gamble with death as if it is a game. Their minds sing with disorder. No predator should behave this way. And yet, they flourish. Vex sat in silence, staring at Earth's blue glow. He had seen warriors, armies, weapons, rituals of strength, but what disturbed him most was not their violence. It was their restraint. "Look again," he said finally. "These creatures have built weapons to burn their world 100 times over. Yet the planet still spins, alive, vibrant. Why?" Probe hesitated. Statistical error? No, Vex growled. Choice. They turned their sensors toward history once more. There were records of near apocalypses, moments when entire nations held the power to annihilate each other. And yet, again and again, the final strike never came. Instead, treaties were signed, rivalries frozen, weapons locked away. Swift's eyes widened. They had the power to destroy themselves, and they chose not to. Vex nodded slowly. Exactly. They are not peaceful because they lack teeth. They are peaceful because they sheath their claws willingly. Do you see? That is what makes them terrifying. The realization spread a chill through the cloaked vessel. A species that cannot fight is harmless. A species that does not want to fight may still be dangerous. But a species that can fight better than anyone else and still chooses restraint? That is a predator beyond reason. Probe processed the thought endlessly, its lenses flickering. Implication: if provoked to unleash their full potential, no force could withstand them. Every attempt to crush them has only hardened them further. Every defeat has forged resilience. Invasion does not weaken humanity. It prepares them. Swift whispered the words like a curse, "We have been feeding the beast." Silence hung heavy. Earth turned below, innocent in its clouds and seas. Children laughed in playgrounds, soldiers drilled in fields, scientists launched new machines into the void. Life went on as though the galaxy's eyes were not upon them. At last, Vex recorded his final judgment for the Council. Earth cannot be conquered because conquest is irrelevant. Strike them, and they rise sharper. Break them, and they grow stronger. They are not prey. They are the predators of predators. And they restrain themselves not out of weakness, but out of terrifying strength. He shut down the recorder, his claws trembling. For the first time in his long career, Commander Vex was certain of one thing. Humanity's greatest weapon was not their armies, nor their machines. It was their choice. The Galactic Council gathered once more. The chamber, vast and luminous, was heavy with unease. Delegates from 100 species shifted nervously, whispering in their strange tongues. All eyes turned as Commander Vex stepped forward, his scales shadowed by the weight of truth. The High Arbiter's crystalline form refracted a pale light. "Commander," she said. "You have observed. You have studied. speak, and let this council know what is Earth. Vex activated his recorder. Images filled the chamber, humans laughing in crowded arenas, risking their lives on cliffs and oceans, soldiers drilling in endless rows, weapons capable of shattering worlds. Each scene flashed like a blade drawn slowly across the council's throat. His voice carried across the silence. Earth is not weak. It is not fractured prey. It is the most dangerous system in the galaxy. Not because they cannot be defeated, but because every defeat only makes them stronger. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Some scoffed, some hissed, but none interrupted. They have endured wars that would have extinguished any other species, Vex continued. They wield weapons that could erase themselves in fire, yet they survive because they choose not to use them. Do you understand? They are peaceful by will, not by necessity. And that makes them more terrifying than any conqueror. Swift, standing behind him, flared her wings. We watched them. They treat danger as play, death as a challenge. They are not bound by fear the way we are. They do not break, they adapt. Probes lenses word, projecting cold data into the air. Analysis confirms. Repeated invasions have hardened humanity, not weakened it. Psychological resilience unmatched. Cooperative structures extend beyond kinship. Cultural obsession with conflict simulation. Probability of successful conquest, less than 0.3%. The chamber erupted. This is madness, hissed a reptilian warlord. They are primitives. Then why have your fleets vanished? Vex shot back, his voice sharp as a blade. The silence that followed was damning. The High Arbiter dimmed her light, her form flickering with unease. Then we must decide. What shall be the fate of Earth? A debate followed, fierce and desperate. Some demanded extermination at any cost. Others argued for containment. Many simply feared that even speaking of conquest would draw humanity's attention. At last, the Arbiter raised her staff, silencing the hall. Enough. The answer is clear. We do not conquer predators who chain themselves by choice. We do not gamble with a fire that grows hotter when struck. Earth shall not be touched. From this day forth, Sol is a protected system. Approach forbidden. Interference forbidden. The decree echoed through the chamber, sealing itself into law. As the council dismissed, Vex lingered. He looked one last time at the hologram of Earth, the small blue jewel in the dark. He whispered to himself, unheard by the rest. The most dangerous predator is not the one who hunts, but the one who chooses not to. If the humans ever release that choice, the galaxy will burn. The hologram spun silently, its oceans glimmering. To the council, it was a world spared. To Vex, it was a world waiting.